The school bully grabbed my girlfriend in front of the whole class. And this time, I kept my hands in my pockets. In my last life, these same hands broke Tyler Hayes' mouth for Madison Cole. Then they signed away my future right before the most important exam of my life. So when Madison screamed my name like I was still her personal bodyguard, I smiled, turned around and walked away. The entire room went dead quiet. Tyler Hayes, the golden boy, didn't know what to do. And Madison, she was already preparing for her award-winning performance. In my first life, that look had ripped the brain right out of my skull. I charged in, swung, and for about 10 seconds I felt like a hero. Then the teachers came, and Madison said she never asked me to fight. Funniest part? After I ruined myself for her, she married him. So when I opened my eyes to the exact same scene, I didn't feel heroic. I felt awake. Logan, Madison called, but I kept walking. My classmates stared, whispering like I'd committed a crime by not committing one. Even Tyler looked disappointed. That was the first reward of my second life. I made it halfway down the hall before she grabbed my sleeve. "What is wrong with you?" she demanded, her voice shaking just enough for everyone to hear. I looked down at her hand on my sleeve. Last time I would have heard pain. This time all I heard was a director giving orders. I said. Her eyes widened. "Then why did you walk away?" "Because my legs work." Someone almost laughed, then swallowed it when she weaponized her tears in his direction. He pulled me aside. "Are you mad at me? If you leave, everyone will think you're scared." Under all that fake trembling, her priority was clear. Image. "Everyone?" I asked. She bit her lip. "I mean, you're my boyfriend." That word. In my old life, I lived on the crumbs she gave me. I slipped my sleeve out of her fingers. "Funny," I said. "When trouble shows up, I'm your boyfriend. When the teachers ask who started it, I'm just some random guy with anger issues." Her face stiffened. "That's not fair," she whispered. I told her, and I didn't ask to be your shield. Her hand just froze. Behind us, Tyler drawled, "Wow, Cole, your boyfriend's kind of useless." The old me would have turned. The new me just smiled. "Tyler, if you need attention that badly, try raising your hand in class. It's free." Hallway cracked. A few students laughed before fear caught up. Tyler's face darkened, and right on cue, Mr. Morrison's voice cut through the tension. The school machine had woken up. Inside the office, the roles were already cast. I was the defendant. "Logan, why are you causing trouble?" he began, skipping right past investigation. I almost admired the speed. "Teacher," I said, "what trouble did I cause?" He didn't like that. He already had his story. Tyler's version, Madison's version. The whole class saw him grab her, but sure, Tyler was joking. "Great," I said, and I'm laughing on the inside. That earned me a light slap on the desk. The classic "I'm the adult here" move. He told me my attitude was terrible. I just nodded. So my attitude was the real problem here. Madison jumped in, playing the wounded party. "I didn't drag you into anything." I just looked at her. In my pocket, my phone felt heavy. It held the truth. The message she sent before class. The one asking me to be her bodyguard. Mr. Morrison pulled out the form. The self-reflection, 1,500 words, the apology. It was the exact same trap, same room, same teacher, different idiot. "No," I said. The whole room changed. Tyler was suddenly interested. Madison panicked. "Logan, don't be stubborn," she pleaded. "Do you want this to get serious?" "It's exactly why I'm not writing it. I understand consequences better than anyone here." The final threat. "Fine," he said. "I'll call your parent." Madison went pale. "Now that was interesting," she whispered. "Stop making this worse. I just asked for who." No answer. Beautiful. My mother arrived 20 minutes later, her face tight with worry. That part hurt. When Mr. Morrison tried to take over, my mom stopped him cold. "Let my son speak." So I took out my phone, opened the chat, and handed it to her. I watched her read the message once, then again. Her fingers tightened. Then she turned to the girl by the desk. "Madison Cole, did you send this?" Madison tried her crying act again. "Auntie, I didn't mean for him to misunderstand." My mother's voice was like ice. "Misunderstand?" My mom laid it out plain. "You asked my son for help, then let the teacher treat him like the problem." Tyler just snorted. "It was just a message. Nobody told him to act like her boyfriend." Shot him a look. "Nobody told you to be a handsy clown either. But here we are." Mr. Morrison immediately snapped, "Logan." But my mother just looked right at him. "Teacher," she said, her voice steady. "My son has proof Madison asked for help." And Tyler admitted he was just joking. Her voice cut through the room. "So why is my son the only one writing a reflection?" For the first time, Mr. Morrison actually looked uncomfortable. It lasted about 2 seconds. "Mrs. Miller," he said, that familiar tone creeping in. Madison shouldn't have been vague, and Tyler's joking was inappropriate. "I'll speak to them." But setting aside those facts, Logan's attitude is the biggest issue right now. There it was. He'd finally said the quiet part out loud. It was so stupid it deserved a frame. I couldn't help it. I laughed. It was quiet, but just loud enough for him to hear. Face sank. "What are you laughing at?" "Nothing, teacher," I said. "I'm impressed." He blinked. "Impressed?" "Yes. Setting aside the facts, could I also be the emperor? If we're putting reality on vacation, I want a better title." My mom's eyes shot daggers at me, a silent plea to stop. Seeing Mr. Morrison's face turning that shade of purple healed something small inside me. "You are mocking your teacher now?" he demanded. "No. I'm just asking why the facts only become optional when they help me." Before he could answer, the office door opened. Dean Hayes stepped in. If anyone needed proof that school politics were hereditary, there it was. He didn't even look at Tyler first. His eyes landed right on me. "Logan Miller," he said, the name like a verdict. I heard you refused to write a self-reflection and insulted your teacher. Looked from him to Tyler and back again. Fast news service. His eyes chilled. This attitude is exactly the problem. Grades are not everything. A student who does not respect teachers cannot stay at Westbridge High. Mother stepped forward again. Dean Hayes, my son showed proof. He waved her off. Your son was involved too. He finally glanced at Tyler. A quick inventory check, like making sure the family vase wasn't scratched. Tyler will be educated at home, he declared. A vacation. Tyler looked at the floor, but I saw it. He was trying not to smile. My mother saw it too, her face changed. Good. It hurt, but the fog was clearing for her. Dean Hayes continued, putting the spotlight back on me. He disrupted class, argued, talked back, and now mocks the process. Senior year leaves no room for this kind of instability. Instability. That word again. It had followed me in my old life too. Unstable, emotional, jealous, impulsive. They never called Tyler protected. They never called Madison dishonest. Labels always landed on the person without a dean for a father. He placed the folder on the desk. Here are your options. Logan writes a sincere self-reflection and accepts a formal warning, or he can leave Westbridge High. We can't teach a student who refuses basic discipline. Mother went still. The same wall, just painted with nicer words. In my first life, this was where I folded. I told myself one apology was cheaper than losing the school, but one lie became a record. And that record became years of waking up with my chest full of sand. Looked at Madison. She wanted me cornered. She wanted the old script. I looked at Tyler. He was safe enough to be bored. I looked at Mr. Morrison. He was waiting for my head to lower. Finally, I looked at my mother. Her anger was there, but worry had climbed over it. Gave her a small smile. Mom, I whispered, don't worry. Logan, I am not writing a fake confession. Dean Hayes' mouth tightened. Then you understand what that means. I do, I said, turning back to him. If this school needs me to pretend, then I'm done here. Madison flinched. I kept going before anyone could stop me. I'll transfer. The office fell silent. Even Tyler's poker face cracked. They weren't supposed to know exits existed. Mr. Morrison recovered first. Don't be impulsive. This could ruin your future. I almost smiled again. In another life, staying here had already done that. Teacher, I said, my future survived one death. It can survive a transfer. My mother gasped. Madison went white. Dean Hayes just thought I was being dramatic. Fine by me. Took my phone back. The proof, my clean hands, the lies. The only thing that had changed was me. I bowed my head slightly, but only to my mother. Let's go home. The news that I might transfer reached the classroom before I did. By the time we walked in, half the class had already decided I was the villain. Because Logan Miller refuses to recognize his mistake, he announced, turning the class into his jury. Madison lowered her head, eyes red again. If crying was an elective, she'd be on the national team. My deskmate Ryan whispered, Bro, if you leave, who am I supposed to copy physics from? I picked up my bag. No thank you, I told Mr. Morrison. I already reflected. I found the problem. Before I could be sent to the office, my mom stepped forward. If Logan is transferring, what paperwork do we need? Gave me one last chance. Apologize. I saw the hook. I have a trade, I said. Mr. Morrison wanted to know what trade I was proposing, so I told him. Apologized to my mother for accusing me without proof, and I might consider staying. I dangled the bait. Long enough to win the physics Olympiad slot for this homeroom. That's when Miss Parker, the physics teacher, walked in. She stopped dead in her tracks, her eyes wide with genuine surprise. It was the first honest teacher face I'd seen all day. Logan, she started, you're transferring. But the Olympiad recommendation is due. She cut herself off, probably realizing she was about to confess what the school was losing. But Mr. Morrison heard it anyway. His hand tightened around his pen. I turned back to him. One apology, very simple. Even gave him a script. Mrs. Miller, I set aside facts. It was embarrassing. The class behind me let out a collective gasp. Mr. Morrison's face turned beet red. He slammed his pen down, signing the form with force. There he spat. Since you're so determined to go, then go. He thought he was dismissing me. He had no idea he'd just handed me my first official win. I reached out and took the officially stamped paper from his desk. Thank you, teacher, I said calmly. I knew we could solve this peacefully. Miss Parker followed us out into the hall. Logan, wait, she said, trying to stop the inevitable. Transferring now is risky. Just wait one day. It was reasonable advice. It was also terrible timing. If this was only about anger, I would. I told her honestly. Mr. Morrison asked me to sign a lie, and Dean Hayes threatened my entire academic file because his son was involved. I let that sink in. If I stay, I'm not a student, I'm a hostage. Her eyes darted from my face to the form to the classroom door. She understood. Dean Hayes' son, she whispered. I didn't have to say another word. She sighed, a look of resignation on her face. Brookfield High has good teachers too. Keep your physics stable, she said quietly. Don't waste your talent just to prove a point. That one hit closer to home than I liked. In my past life, I'd wasted everything. Wasted time, sleep, pride, and my parents' belief in their own child. I gave her a small nod. I'm leaving to stop wasting it. My mother tightened her grip on her purse, her knuckles white. Then it was time for the main event. The principal's office. Dean Hayes sat there like a king, while Principal Bennett stared at my application like it was a crack in his perfect wall. Logan Miller, the principal, began. Your academic record is strong. Your conduct record was clean. Before today. Before today, I repeated slowly. A very educational phrase. Dean Hayes tapped the form. Your attitude is the issue. My attitude didn't call Madison down here, or ask me to fight Tyler, or threaten my file when I refused to lie. The principal turned to my mother. A transfer will affect recommendations, contest support, translation. We own your future, and we'd like you to remember that. My mom heard it first, her face tightening. Parents always hear the hidden cost. I step forward, then correct the accusation. Mr. Morrison apologizes to my mother. The school states in writing that I did nothing wrong, I said. We can discuss whether I stay. Dean Hayes let out a short, ugly laugh. You want the school to apologize to a student? No, I said, looking him dead in the eye. To a mother you tried to scare with a fake record. That shut him up. The joke was over. Principal Bennett closed the folder. Dean Hayes signed the application. The dean stared, but the principal was done. If the family insists, we can't force him to remain. They weren't going to apologize. They were just going to get rid of the problem, fast. Faster than I'd ever seen them move. Dean Hayes signed. Then the principal. I took the form back and checked every single signature. Do you think we would cheat you on a form? Hayes sneered. No, I said. I think you'd set aside facts. I'm just developing healthy habits. The principal looked like he'd swallowed a lemon seed and found out it had tenure. We were almost out the door when Hayes spoke one last time. Brookfield won't protect you from your temper. Without Westbridge's platform, you'll find out what you really are. I stopped. His voice used to sound like the future. Now it just sounded like Tyler in a suit. Dean Hayes, I said, not even bothering to turn around. If your son had my temper, he would have taken responsibility by now. Then I left before my mom could decide whether to scold me or secretly enjoy it. What should have taken a day took 1 hour. Nothing moves faster than an institution disposing of a problem it created. By lunch, I was back in the classroom to clear my desk. Everyone pretended not to watch while absolutely watching. Ryan stood there, holding a notebook like it was a sacred text. I prepared something, he said solemnly. I raised an eyebrow. A goodbye letter? No. The last 3 physics problems you solved yesterday. I need closure. I actually laughed, despite myself, and took the notebook. As I wrote out the solutions, Ryan asked quietly, Are you really going to Brookfield? People are saying you got kicked out. I just shrugged. People can say what they want. Madison is crying again, he added. I didn't even look up. Hydration is important. Just as I was leaving, Madison stood up. She walked towards me, her voice shaking, ready for her final act. Her eyes were red, but this time I could see the calculation under the tears. She needed one last scene where she was the victim. For a second, I didn't see the hallway. I saw the old life, the humiliation, the pain. Pain makes an excellent highlighter. Outside, my mom finally asked if I was sure. I told her staying was the real risk. She looked at the school one last time, then nodded. Then we go to Brookfield High. My online readers thought I'd been kidnapped by homework. One even threatened to fail all their exams if I didn't post a new chapter. Truth was, I was just starting a new life. That afternoon, we'd finished the transfer paperwork for Brookfield High. It wasn't glamorous. The paint was chipped. I liked it immediately. Lately, perfect places had started to make me nervous. Back on the forum, one comment caught my eye. Do simple things repeatedly. I stared at it for a long time. In my last life, I'd made everything complicated. This time, I would stick to the simple things. I typed a quick note. Updates will resume when the author survives the seating chart. Comments exploded, and then a private message. It was Ryan. I stared at the screen. Of all people, I messaged back, you were supposed to admire the sentence structure. His response was, eloquent, bro. Told him to keep it quiet. He asked me to define quiet, so I told him the opposite of you. He had to admit I was right. Fine. I closed the laptop, actually smiling. The next morning, my mom adjusted my collar like I was 6 years old. I let her. Some humiliations were just love in a cheap disguise. Brookfield, our new homeroom teacher, Miss Anderson, met us. She was brisk, sharp-eyed, and didn't sigh once. She just checked my file, then me. Logan Miller, she said. Your previous school noted a conflict with classmates. Very generous of them, I replied. They left out a lot to reach that sentence. I saw her mouth twitch. My mom shot me a look, but it had less panic in it than yesterday. Progress. Miss Anderson closed the folder. Your grades are strong. Your conduct note is vague. I'll judge you by what you do in my classroom. I almost applauded. Instead, I just nodded. That's fair. She led me toward the senior corridor. New school, same noise. Miss Anderson paused at the door. I glanced through the window, and there she was, Emma Blake. In my past life, she was a quiet name I noticed far too late. This time, I wasn't going to let the world bury her. Miss Anderson opened the door. The whole class turned. I stepped inside, the transfer form still warm from yesterday's fight, and I asked the first useful question of my new life. Teacher, can I sit next to Emma Blake? Class was not subtle. Chairs creaked. Pens stopped moving. Emma looked up, her eyes wide. Understandable, really. Someone whispered, He knows Emma? Another shot back, maybe he transferred for her. The gossip mill was fast. Ms. Anderson cleared her throat. Logan Miller, do you know Emma? I know of her, I said. It sounded suspicious because it was. Couldn't exactly say I was correcting the universe's seating arrangement from a past life. Miss Anderson studied my face for a moment, then turned to Emma. Emma glanced at the empty desk, then at me, then back down. Yes, teacher. Then sit there, she told me. But introduce yourself first. I walked to the front, knowing they'd already built a story about me, so I gave them my best smile. Hello, everyone. I'm Logan Miller. My grades are average, my character is excellent, and I absolutely never fight. The room froze for a second, then laughter. Even Ms. Anderson's eyes curved. First rule of surviving a rumor, don't let it decide your posture. She pointed to the seat, sit down, and Logan, In this class, jokes do not replace homework. Understood, I said. I'll use them as supplemental material. The class laughed again. As I got to the desk, Emma quietly moved her books over. That tiny gesture meant more than a welcome speech. Thank you, Miss Blake, I said softly. She lowered her head, but I saw the corner of her mouth move, not quite a smile. So naturally, I decided to lean in and ask, Miss Blake, do you have a boyfriend? Her pen stopped. The desks around us went silent. She shot up from her chair. I need to ask Miss Anderson a question, she blurted out and escaped. Personal development goal number 2, become less alarming. Next period, the class monitor turned around. Did you really fight over a girl? No, I said. Westbridge ran out of storage space for my excellent character. Someone choked on a laugh, then a new voice. Logan Miller, right? I know Madison Cole. Past had arrived before lunch. Condolences, I said. Her eyebrows shot up. Madison told people you liked her a lot. She told the truth once, I said, opening my notebook. Now I'm retired from unpaid bodyguard work. Before she could reply, a new challenger appeared. New guy, don't flirt with Chloe. I pointed to my notebook. I'm not flirting, I'm networking. Class exploded. Chloe laughed the loudest, which didn't help Mason's mood. Just then, Emma leaned over and whispered, Mason might actually hit people. She was warning me. But then Miss Anderson returned with a pop quiz, the perfect way to kill gossip. Miss Anderson's pen paused over my test. That was a silence the entire class could smell. Logan, she said, holding up the paper 1. The entire room turned to look at me. Chloe's smile froze solid. Mason made a sound that wasn't exactly a cough. Put on my most regretful face, because honestly I was enjoying myself. Anything less than perfect is failure. She gave me a 98, highest in the class. When I called it average, she threatened me with the hallway, but then Emma looked at my paper. You are good at English, she said. I told her I have a flexible relationship with humility. And for a split second, she smiled. That tiny smile hit me harder than the 98 ever could. By lunch, the rumors had already upgraded themselves. Emma's friend Grace came over. Emma, everyone is talking about him. Emma just looked at her. He is sitting here. Before things could get peaceful, Chloe joined us. Logan, she asked, do you read Exit Pass? My hand froze. She said the author posted a hiatus note and that he transferred schools. Several heads turned. Even Emma's eyes flicked toward me. The author sounds arrogant. Mason grumbled from the table behind us. I turned around. That's a literary technique. You must know him very well. Chloe's eyes lit up. Wait, really? Intimately. The table went dead silent. I realized half a second too late. That was not the best word choice. Grace was laughing into her hand, and Emma's ears turned pink. Chloe loved seeing a crack in my composure. Can you ask him to update? Just then, Miss Anderson walked by. Logan, if I hear you're starting a cult, I'll separate the seating chart. I put a hand over my heart. Teacher, I'm just promoting literature. And then I saw Emma's shoulders shake with a silent laugh. That was the best review I could ask for. Afternoon Chinese class belonged to Mr. Whitman. He was a different breed of teacher. He'd seen my file. Strong overall but inconsistent Chinese scores. He wasn't wrong. In my past life, my writing was a complete mess. This time, though, I had practice. And a buzzing phone I should have ignored. I opened a blank draft and wrote 3 lines, just 3, a tiny crime. Emma noticed first. Her eyes went wide, a silent warning. Too late. Mr. Whitman stopped talking, Logan Miller. The whole class turned. Again, my low-key plan had some serious flaws. He walked right up to me and held out his hand. Phone. Gave it to him. In my defense, locking it would have looked guiltier. He read the lines. His expression changed. Not angry. Interested. That was way more dangerous. He just said hallway and I followed him out. He scrolled just enough to see the draft folder. Exit pass. His eyes met mine. This is yours? Yes. He asked for proof. I showed him the back end. His sternness just shifted. Your pacing is good, he said. Thank you. Your chapter endings are shameless. Also, thank you. He handed my phone back, but the mood shifted. I knew what was coming. He mentioned a 4-school joint mock exam. And then he made his offer. If I ranked first in Chinese, I could write in his class. If not, my phone was his. He'd said first in our school. I asked him to clarify, and he raised the stakes. Fine, he said. Rank first across all 4 schools. That was supposed to scare me. It did a little. But this was a risk based on skill, not pride. I looked him in the eye. I can accept that deal. He smiled at that. Then start with putting your phone away. When we got back to the classroom, the whole room failed at pretending to be normal. As I passed Chloe's desk, she slid a note toward me. It just said exit pass. Mr. Whitman placed my phone on his desk. Class, Logan will not be writing unrelated material during my lecture again. Nodded along obediently. Until he added he has also accepted a challenge. He looked at me with pure teacherly innocence. Betrayal but educational. And then he told the entire class about our deal. Mason just laughed. First day and already acting like a legend. Just sat down and opened my textbook. Emma looked at me, her expression full of genuine worry. Can you do it? Her question wasn't a challenge. It was concern. She took other people's danger seriously. So I didn't joke. I just answered her. I can try. She nodded. Then good luck. Thank you, Miss Blake. She glanced down. You still call me that respectfully. It sounds strange. After a second, she said, I didn't say I dislike it. And just like that, my brain lost all professional discipline. Chloe saw it. From across the aisle, she whispered, oh, he is done. By the end of the day, they'd updated my file. I was the transfer with the rumor, the score, the secret identity, and a public challenge sitting on my desk like a live grenade. He had started writing my story for me. and they were getting it all wrong. My phone buzzed with a message from Ryan. The official story from my old school was already spreading. That I couldn't handle discipline. That I'd begged to leave. A convenient lie. But just a few minutes before that, something else had happened. The final bell had rung. Emma packed her books slowly, letting the chaos of dismissal wash past her. Knew that move. Sometimes you wait, not because you're slow, but because attention hurts. Chloe left with grace, but not before throwing a couple of questioning looks my way. Mason made his exit too, bumping a desk hard enough to make a point so subtle. When the room was finally clear, she looked at me. Logan was the first time she'd said my name. Ridiculous how much that single word mattered. Yes, I replied. She hesitated. If Mason bothers you, you can tell Miss Anderson. I couldn't help but smile. You trust teachers? She pushed her glasses up. Some teachers. That was a surprisingly mature answer. She hesitated, then added, in the novel. I read it. I kept my voice light. This was clearly costing her. Then I can apologize to the author for his punctuation crime. I like it, she said, just 3 simple words. And they did more damage to my defenses than Mason's entire tough guy act. Tell him, I said. No joke this time. Some moments don't need it. She nodded, grabbed her bag, but stopped at the door. First in Chinese across 4 schools. That's very difficult. Then do simple things repeatedly. And with that, she was gone. I just sat there processing. She had just quoted me. That line came from a forum comment on my novel last night. A comment I had made. This new school was dangerous in a way I hadn't expected. Here, people could still surprise me for the better. That's when my phone buzzed. Reality crashing back in. Ryan had sent receipts. Westbridge High had found out I was the author they were praising. Then the punchline. Post deleted. They realized it was me. Efficient. So, I was a literary talent for about 9 minutes before they erased me like a typo. Messages kept coming. Madison had ratted me out. Mr. Morrison was suggesting I copied it. Translation total panic. Of course Madison knew. I'd shown her a draft months ago. Back when I thought being useful meant being loved. She called it kind of interesting before asking for help with her homework. Peak romance. Before I could even process that memory, Chloe slid into the seat opposite me. Exit pass. She said it out loud this time. Beside me, Emma's pen stopped moving. A tiny pause settled it. I could let Chloe corner me, or let Westbridge control the narrative, or I could do one simple thing. I looked at Chloe after second period. That sounds like a yes, she said. I just stared back. That sounds like after second period. Emma's pen started moving again, but slower. That was my warning. If I let her hear the truth from Chloe, I'd become the kind of person who uses silence as a weapon. So after second period, I asked her to walk with me to the stairwell. Is this about the novel? She asked. Yes. She looked down. Then you know the author. Time to stop the games. I am the author. Fingers tightened on her notebook. That was the only sign she gave. To make sure, I showed her the dashboard on my phone. The whole backstage mess. She stared at it for a long second. You said you would tell him. I did, my cheap trick. Her quiet words hit harder than any shout. Put the phone away. I should have told you before I joked about it. She looked at me then. Really looked. Why are you telling me now? I told her the truth. The story was about to break, and I wanted her to hear it from me. I gave her the simple version. The part a normal person could understand. How Madison lied. How the dean protected his son. How they demanded I apologize for something I didn't do. As I spoke, I could see her putting the pieces together. The rumors versus the person in front of her. She looked away toward the window. That is unfair. No drama, no gasp. She just named the correct answer. I'd waited a lifetime to hear someone say that. It is, I agreed. What will you do? I showed her the screenshots. My plan was simple. Post everything on the Brookfield forum. Let the facts speak for themselves. She adjusted her glasses. Then why tell me before posting? The question had teeth, I answered plainly. Because her praise was genuine, and she deserved the truth before the chaos. I wanted her to know before she became a clue in someone else's mystery. She looked down. I'm not good at being treated like a clue. Thank you, Miss Blake. She glanced up, a tiny smile playing on her lips. Strange, consistent. Showing some personal growth, I actually ran the post by Mr. Whitman first. His advice was solid. He told me to remove the part about Westbridge being allergic to facts. Said it was accurate, but also gasoline. I took his advice. The final post was boring, which meant it was probably responsible. Then I hit send. The forum exploded. In the classroom, the reaction was just as fast. Mason, true to form, just muttered ridiculous. Emma didn't look up, but her ears turned pink. That mattered more than the entire forum. By lunch, Brookfield knew 3 things. Westbridge lost a popular author, tried to cover it up, and that author was now sitting next to the quiet girl by the window, making her a target. It happened in PE. Of course it did. Humiliation loves an audience. After the run, I grabbed 2 bottles of water from the machine, put one on her desk. Hydration, I said. Advanced sports science. Across the aisle, Paige Lawson decided to broadcast her opinion. The author buys Emma water now. A flower stuck in manure? The room went quiet. Emma froze. And that's where the humor stopped. I could take anything they said about me, but they crossed a line coming for Emma. I stood up and her smug little smile finally died. Say it again, I said. My voice dangerously quiet. She swallowed hard. I was joking. Then write the joke down. I want to see if it gets funnier when you sign your name. Chloe quickly stepped in. Logan, she didn't mean it like that. I just looked at her. You laughed. Her face changed instantly. Both of you, I said. One apology note to Emma before evening self-study, handwritten. Who are you to order us? Paige spat, her face turning red. The person who will take this to Ms. Anderson if you prefer adult supervision. Emma whispered my name. I turned to her and my voice softened. You don't have to accept the notes. The hurt in her eyes made the whole room feel cheap. Paige looked away, but Chloe broke first. Fine, she said, her voice shaking. I'll write it. Just like that, a new problem appeared in the doorway. Mason. He saw Chloe's red eyes, saw me with Emma, and did the simple math of a guy who solves problems by punching. Logan, he growled. Outside, the room went dead silent. He saw Emma grip her water bottle, her knuckles white with tension. You think a test score in a novel make you untouchable? He sneered. No, I replied. I think they make me literate. Stepped closer. Gate, don't run. I had a dozen clever comebacks, but none were worth making Emma cry, so I just nodded. The moment Mason was gone, Emma turned to me. You can tell Miss Anderson. I can, I said. But when she asked if I would, I hesitated. Reporting him was the obvious move. In this school, it would just start new rumors, and she'd be the star of a story she never wanted. If I report it, your name becomes part of it, I told her. I don't want that. Then what will you do, she asked. I said, keep my hands clean. She didn't look comforted. During the next break, I texted Ryan. I messaged, does your cousin still do adult security for school events? His reply was typical Ryan. Depends who is asking, a paying customer or a tragic abandoned physics tutor. I typed back one word, both. Ryan asked what happened. I kept it simple. Mason is bringing people to Brookfield Highgate. How many, he asked. I told him I was hoping for 15 to 20, for dignity. His diagnosis, you are emotionally unwell. I ignored that. Can your cousin bring witnesses? Cameras? Adults who look expensive to annoy. Ryan came through. Yes, he says no fighting. Perfect, I messaged back. Fighting is for people who hate their exam records. The only problem was cash. So before evening study, I sat down next to Emma. I need to ask an uncomfortable favor. She looked up instantly. How much? I had to give her credit. She didn't even ask what for. You wouldn't look that embarrassed for homework, she said. Unfairly accurate. So I explained the backup plan. Adult witnesses. No fighting. Just a whole lot of boring. She listened carefully. Will anyone get hurt? No. Will you hit Mason? No. Will this make him angrier? She asked. I had to be honest. Briefly. And after briefly, she pressed. Embarrassed. Embarrassment is more educational. That seemed to convince her. She opened her bag and took out her wallet, but before she handed me the cash, I stopped her and opened my notes app. I wrote a debt record, amount, purpose, repayment date. Then I turned the screen to her. Don't need to write it, she said. I do, I insisted. Why? Because your money isn't magic. It's trust with numbers attached. She stared at me for a second, then handed me the bills. Then repay on time, she said. After school, Mason was waiting at the gate, just as he promised, with 6 guys I didn't know. 6. I had emotionally prepared for 15. The disappointment was real. Mason strolled toward me. You came. I did. I also wore comfortable shoes because someone promised a dramatic event. One of his friends laughed before Mason shot him a death glare. You made Chloe cry. Chloe laughed while Paige insulted Emma. Chloe is writing an apology. It's called a consequence. Mason stepped closer, and that's when 2 vans pulled up right behind me. Ryan's cousin got out first. He looked like a man who lifted refrigerators for fun. I respected him instantly. Behind him, a dozen adults fanned out, all holding phones, all looking incredibly boring and official. He smiled. Which one is the student needing event security? I raised my hand. That would be me. Mason looked from the adults to me, utterly bewildered. What the hell is this? Community observation, I said as Ryan's cousin took over. Nobody touches anybody. We're recording for student safety. Suddenly, Mason's backup discovered urgent appointments elsewhere. It was beautiful. Mason stayed because pride is heavier than common sense. You called adults, he accused. Coward. Correct, I said cheerfully. I'm cowardly about ruining my future over a high school fight. Very fragile in that area. His jaw tightened, but one look from Ryan's cousin in the sea of phones made him turn and walk away. The next morning, the apology notes arrived. Paige's was stiff. Chloe's was shorter and more honest. I laughed because I was jealous. I'm sorry. Emma read them both quietly. Her shoulders seemed to relax just a little. Do you accept them? I asked. She folded the notes. I accept that they wrote them. Later at lunch, Emma observed the empty space around our table. You told me first, she said quietly. People keep looking, she noted. But it feels different from yesterday. I asked if it was better or worse. She thought for a moment, less lonely. Mr. Whitman saved me from having to find a reply. Logan, he said, enjoy your fame today. Tomorrow, the joint mock schedule begins. The announcement dropped like a bomb. A 4-school mock exam, including Westbridge High. The next morning, Miss Anderson called both me and Mason into the hall. Explain, she said. After she read us the riot act, she let Mason go. But then she turned to me. Logan, a word. First, across all 4 schools. The words hit the room like a shockwave, and every single eye in that room was turning to me. To get here, we have to go back to that morning, in Miss Anderson's office. She asked for the truth, so I gave her the clean version. Paige's insults, close note, Mason's threat. I told her how I handled it without throwing a punch. She acknowledged I avoided a fight, but called it a public spectacle. I'm watching you closely, she said. I told her that made 2 schools watching me. Her comeback? The difference is that I read evidence. That shut me up. When I got back to my seat, Emma was worried. Best buds, she whispered. I told her it was a working title. From the back, Mason made a sound like he'd swallowed a staple. My first reward of the day. Mason was silent, and Paige looked terrified of her own apology note. And then, just when I thought I had peace, Westbridge High got involved. Ryan messaged me. Apparently, Mr. Morrison had bought him breakfast. My first question was obvious. Was it poison? He said yes spiritually. And then he dropped the bomb. Morrison gave him $60. $60. My brain stalled for a second. Bribe was simple. I shut up about the exit pass scandal and let them take credit for my work. Then came the kicker. Madison Cole was the emotional packaging. And right on cue, there she was, trying to put perfume on a threat. I didn't accept. I screenshotted. The next message to Ryan was crucial. His reply, obviously, I'm corrupt, not wasteful. He'd already sent the evidence. Friendship includes file management, apparently. So that was it. $60, the price of Westbridge High's dignity. I filed it all away. Evidence doesn't expire if you store it properly. Fortunately, my mock exam was about to begin. In my past life, exams had become a punishment chamber. I remembered the teachers treating me like a risk, my parents pretending not to worry, my own brain refusing to cooperate. That memory was still there, but this time was different. Clean hands, clean record, new school. The plan was simple. Read the question, find the trap, write the answer. First subject passed without drama. Then came Chinese. Everyone was panicking about the composition, especially Chloe. Emma, as always, was quiet and prepared. I looked over the crowd and lowered my voice. Review environmental governance, youth responsibility, and community rules, I said. Chloe was skeptical. Is this author instinct? No, I shot back. It's student survival instinct. But Emma just calmly added the notes to her book. And Chloe questioned her. Emma's defense was perfect. He's often strange, not usually random. That might be the best review of my personality ever. Then the paper landed. It was close enough. Every doubt in that hallway turned around to stare. Future memory was like a flashlight with a low battery. It showed me the wall, but I still had to walk. I wrote carefully. The essay had a hook, a spine, and a purpose. I turned it in early. And guess who was proctoring in the hallway? Dean Hayes from Westbridge. Confidence is not the same as ability, he sneered. I agreed and told him that's why I wrote answers. He told me his students were still inside. I walked past him, then stopped. I had one last question for him about the exit pass situation. Should I say the author couldn't handle discipline? Or that he couldn't handle his work being deleted? For just 1 second, the administrator was gone. The difference this time? He was worried about my score. I was worried about writing the paper. Later, Ryan messaged me. Westbridge started a writing contest just to passive-aggressively attack me. 2 days later, the scores were posted. Her eyes found mine instantly. Mr. Whitman took the list. Chinese composition, first across all 4 schools. The room exploded. Emma just turned to me, her eyes wide with disbelief. The good news kept coming. English, math, all top group. He got to science, my one weak spot. The class laughed in relief. I nodded gravely, glad to know the beast had a weakness. But then came the final line. First in Brookfield, top tier across all 4. That was the line that changed everything. I wasn't just inconvenient anymore. I was valuable. In the chaos, Emma showed me her scores. They were good, better than she thought. That's when Chloe leaned in, declaring war. Healthy competition, I called it. Mason tried to start something, so I shut him down one last time. The class howled. Even Ms. Anderson had to step in. The day ended with a victory. But as I was leaving, Mr. Whitman found me, and his face told me nothing. After my big win on the mock exam, Mr. Whitman handed me a thin folder. An opportunity, he called it. I knew a trap when I saw one, and this one was wearing a tie. An open class. Board leaders attending, they wanted me to speak. Teacher, I said flatly. This sounds like a trap. Just smiled. It's an opportunity wearing a schedule. You can try to decline. Westbridge had thrown me away. Now Brookfield was putting me on a stage. This wasn't about a test score anymore. This was ammunition. Mr. Whitman warned me not to rant. A small price to pay. I'll do it, I said. The joint mock was a slap. Now they wanted me to make it sound polite. The day of the open class arrived. I learned that day that adults could smile like a well-mannered trap. Before I even got to the microphone, Director Marshall cornered me. Logan Miller, he said. Tell me honestly, which school do you think is better? Westbridge or Brookfield? I could feel the air freeze. Dean Roberts looked like he was about to have a heart attack. This was the kind of question designed to eat students for breakfast. Every answer was a death sentence. Praise Westbridge and Brookfield loses face. Bury them, and I look bitter. Give a neutral answer, and I'm useless. So I chose the only road that didn't end with me on the floor. Westbridge High taught me pressure, I began. I saw his eyebrow lift. I continued before he could interrupt. Brookfield High taught me balance. Here Miss Anderson judged me by my work in class. Mr. Whitman corrected my writing without treating it like a crime. For a student preparing for the SAT, that matters. Dean Roberts finally started breathing again. Director Marshall smiled. A careful answer. I've been recently encouraged to avoid ranting, I replied, hearing Mr. Whitman cough behind me. The director was pleased. Dean Roberts looked like I'd just handed him a winning lottery ticket. Just when I thought I was safe, he gestured to the literature board for a photo. Then came the second trap, wearing the first one's jacket. You're the author of Exit Pass, correct? I saw Dean Roberts trying to become invisible in his own hallway. I let a smile play on my lips. Which school should win? Whichever school I attend, obviously. For a second, the stuffy adult formality just shattered. Director Marshall actually laughed out loud. I added, but since I attend Brookfield, I'm happy to help the evidence look strong. So the photo happened. And yes, I made sure to hold my score sheet where everyone could see it. It didn't take long. Before class ended, my phone buzzed. It was Ryan. I leave you alone for one inspection, and you join the government. Texted back. I tripped into civic engagement. His reply was instant. Posting this to the Westbridge High group chat. Use flattering angles, I sent. His reply. Always, I'm corrupt but professional. The photo spread faster than a rumor with a scholarship attached. The evening, Ryan sent updates. Mr. Morrison was telling students not to discuss unverified online boasting, and Dean Hayes was demanding to know who let board leaders take a photo with me. Then, mysteriously, the PE department announced a crackdown on bullying. Amazing timing. The humor stopped when my mother called. Her voice was careful. Logan Dean Hayes called home. He asked if I was adapting well. Said if there were misunderstandings, we could discuss them. The same people who signed me away were now trying to keep the door unlocked for themselves. Did he apologize? I asked. The silence on the other end was answer enough. No? Then it's not a discussion yet. Tell Dad I'm fine and don't sign anything. Hearing her say we won't settled something in me. In my past life, they were dragged through the mud. This time Westbridge had to call politely. Justice hadn't arrived yet, but movement had. The next week, the open literature class began. Mr. Whitman called it simple. Teachers speak for a bunch of adults. Will silently judge your soul. Emma was in the second row, looking nervous for me. I appreciated the sentiment, but I had that covered. Even Mason was there, leaning against the back wall. He failed at looking bored the second he saw the leaders. Mr. Whitman gave a short introduction, and then it was my turn. Walked to the front and held up my score sheet. The reason I'm showing this first is simple, I said. I'm showing off. The students laughed instantly. I could practically feel Mr. Whitman die a little inside. Also, I continued, I do have a big mouth, but I prefer to bring documents. Put the sheet down. Exit Pass didn't use magic. It just taught me to do simple things, over and over. Check the logic. Cut the useless line, answer the actual question, then do it again. When I transferred, people called me a problem student. Some people still do, that's fine. Labels are easy. Work is harder. This school gave me a place where my work could speak for itself. They gave me pressure that pointed forward. The room quieted. I knew exactly where the rant lived. It was right there behind my teeth. I could have opened that cage. I could have made the whole room gasp. Instead, I looked at Emma. She was watching me, like she trusted me to choose the better version of myself, so I did. If there's one thing I learned, I said, it's that facts matter most when people want to ignore them. Scores, drafts, apologies, improvement. Do the simple things, and eventually the story people tell has to fight the evidence. Silence. Then someone in the back yelled, "Beast." Another student picked it up. Then half the room was chanting. I swear I didn't start it. Miss Anderson hid a smile. Even Mason wasn't chanting, but he was watching me differently now. Not a target, but a puzzle. Rector Marshall clapped first. The leaders followed, and the chant turned into applause. And for one clean breath, I wasn't Westbridge's problem or Dean Hayes' file threat. I was Brookfield High's student. That shouldn't have hit as hard as it did. Afterward, Director Marshall shook my hand. You're very good at walking near a line without stepping over it, he said. Brookfield is lucky to have you. After the board left, Mr. Whitman leaned in close. You almost ranted, he whispered. But I didn't, I shot back. Does that count for my Chinese score? He just called me a cruel man. That afternoon, the school posted the video of my open class. They picked the best parts, and within an hour, the whole school was quoting me. 2 hours in, Ryan sent me the first piece of intel from the enemy camp. Morrison, my old teacher, was calling my chant childish. I reminded Ryan that this was the same guy who bribed him with breakfast money. I should have enjoyed their panic more, but I had work to do. In the library, I lived a double life. Public tab, me, the inspirational student. Private tab, a supplier called Willow Lace Boutique. I chose this category for one reason. I remembered it from my past life. A small store in this niche exploded around Christmas, and I knew exactly why. It was legal, boring, and embarrassing enough to make me question all my life choices. Perfect. Academic excellence with a side of inventory risk. So of course that's when Emma walked by. She paused. Researching for the novel or for capitalism. She said it sounded dangerous. I told her it usually is. The real problem was capital. My viral video gave me attention, not cash. If the trend hit like I remembered, the orders would outrun my savings in a day. Game, business, and romance had all decided to show up at the same table. And just to make things more complicated, Madison tried to add me back. The timing was so shameless it deserved an award. Her message started with her usual panic, ending with like before. That phrase had enough mold on it to be a science project. I took a screenshot and declined. Then I looked up at Emma, who was still waiting. It's Blake, I started. Do you watch movies? She blinked. Sometimes. Excellent. I'm conducting field research on whether inspirational authors can survive normal social activities. She figured it out. Are you asking me to go with you? Yes, I said. Her ears went pink. I'm not used to being asked to movies. That shut me up for a solid second, a rare event. I'll ask clearly, I said. Emma Blake, will you watch a movie with me this weekend? I told her I was paying. She said that sounded like debt. I said it sounds like a date. She froze. I probably should have softened that. Too late. After a moment she whispered, a date is fine. Just nodded like a normal person. Inside, my brain was short-circuiting. 2 days later, she showed up for our date. She wore a white dress. She looked so different from the quiet girl in the classroom that I almost forgot how to speak. I told her she'd betrayed the seating chart. When she got worried, I admitted, "It's strange in that my vocabulary is now useless." We watched a movie neither of us would remember. For the first 20 minutes, she held that milk tea like a legal guardian, then her fingers rested on the armrest. The gap between our hands suddenly had more suspense than the movie. My fingers finally brushed hers. She didn't move, so I held her hand. "Your hand is warm," she whispered. I whispered back. I studied. After the movie, I gave her the bracelet. It was simple. Nothing too expensive to scare her off. Nothing too cheap to be an insult. "This isn't repayment," I said before she could object. "This is because I wanted to." She asked why. So I told her. Because when everyone called me a problem, she asked if I was okay. Because she told me the novel was good before anyone else cared. And because she warned me about Mason when she barely even knew me. She blinked fast. That's a lot of because. I told her I'd cut some for time. I fastened it to her wrist. For once, neither of us tried to make the moment smaller. Her hand trembled. So did mine. Then, because I'm still me, I said, "I can walk you home tonight." Her eyes went wide, so I clarified fast. "Home to your door, fully legal, no misunderstanding package included." She looked away, blushing. Maybe that tiny misunderstanding shouldn't have made me as happy as it did. And of course, Ryan ruined it. He appeared across the street, shouting our names like a town crier. Closed my eyes, unfortunately, yes. He yelled smile for evidence preservation, and took the photo anyway. By evening, the picture was everywhere. Ryan considers privacy a theoretical concept. When the forum asked if I was dating Emma Blake, I didn't deny it. I just posted that she owed the seating chart an explanation. Emma saw my reply and hid her face in her notebook for a full minute. Miss Anderson passed by, telling Emma that gossip wasn't a homework category. I shot back that it limited our electives. She threatened reflection papers, and the room went silent. The next morning, Chloe arrived. "So," she said, full of drama. "The author has a date, a bracelet, and a secret laptop tab." My hand stopped. Emma looked at me, confused. Chloe smiled. "Breakfast tomorrow." Or I asked why our inspirational author was researching Willow Lace Boutique. Emma's eyes shifted to me. Consequence had arrived, and it was wearing lip gloss. I could have lied. Instead, I told Emma the truth about the market niche I remembered, embarrassing as it was. It ended with a negotiation. Chloe wanted 2 breakfasts for her silence. I offered 1 plus a tutoring session. Deal. That night, the Willow Lace store went live. I kept it simple, clean names, no sleazy slogans, just business. Ryan handled promotion, which meant sending one single cryptic message. Called him immediately. Mystery Ryan, boring doesn't go viral. He was wrong in principle, and annoyingly right in practice. The first order came in before midnight, then the next, and the next. They were small numbers, but they were real money. This felt different. Better than grades, better than applause. Store doesn't clap, it demands work. By morning, hope was visible. So was the problem, which is when Mason found me behind the gym at lunch. He looked worse than usual. Not angry worse, tired worse. And he didn't start with a threat. That's how I knew it was serious. He asked, "You pay people for that store?" I closed the order dashboard on my phone. Depends what they do. He finally spoke. "My grandmother's in the hospital. My dad got hurt. I need money." The performance was gone. This was just pride walking on broken glass. I'd always disliked Mason. He was easy to hate. But standing there, he didn't look like a threat. He looked like he was drowning. "You asking for a loan?" His jaw tightened. "Forget it." "I don't do pity loans," I said. He stopped. "I have work." He turned back, suspicious. "What kind?" I laid it out. Customer messages, sorting orders, packing lists. "Keep it private. No jokes. I pay per batch. Bonus if you're clean." He looked at me like I'd offered him homework with a paycheck. "You want me to work for you?" "No. I want you to work for money. I'm just the annoying doorway. If you mess up, I fire you." For the first time, Mason almost smiled. "You're still arrogant." Consistent branding, I shot back. He looked away. "I can't have people knowing. And do the work quietly." "Why help me?" I could have said I needed labor. That was true. I could have said turning a rival into an employee was efficient. Also true. But the real answer was in his tired face. "Because needing money doesn't make you weak," I said. "Acting cruel because you need respect does." Mason just swallowed. The humor was gone. "Fine," he finally said. "I'll try." That afternoon we sat in an empty classroom, and I began his painful training. By the end of the hour, he'd processed 12 orders. He also asked if Willow Lace was supposed to sound like a mushroom. "It's memorable," I said. "So was your intimidation strategy?" He glared but kept typing. That's when Emma appeared in the doorway. "He works for you now?" she asked. Mason stiffened. "He works for money," I corrected. Emma nodded, like that answer mattered. Mason looked at the bracelet on her wrist, then at me, and wisely chose silence. That night, the notifications wouldn't stop. Ryan was screaming via text. Chloe was demanding breakfast, and Mason sent a picture of packed order slips. Done. Pay accurate. The store was real. The date was real. Mason's need was real. And then, right before midnight, the class group chat exploded. Student was claiming early admission to Rockwell University. No SAT needed. At the same time, Mason messaged me. "Orders still rising. We need more inventory." 2 problems, both hungry for money. And only one of them was real. Caleb Warren announced his escape from the SAT before first period. That's how I knew the Rockwell scam had arrived. He was showing off a fake admission notice. bragging about an uncle who knows someone. The class swarmed him, desperate for a piece of that future. I stayed in my seat. My phone buzzed again. Mason, asking about packaging. And Caleb said the magic words, "No sat needed." It wasn't a sentence. It was a weapon disguised as dessert. The scam hadn't even changed its shoes from my last life. Walked over. "Call Rockwell's official admissions office," I said. Caleb's smile tightened. "Are you saying I got tricked?" "Why? Because you're jealous." I just pulled out my phone, found the real number, and held it out. "Here, use this." That's when Miss Anderson walked in. Perfect timing. Gave her the short version. "He might have paid a fake office. We need to call the real number." "Then prove me wrong," I told Caleb. In front of everyone. The call was put on speaker. The whole class held its breath. And then the admissions officer spoke. "Rockwell University has no private entrance channel. Please do not transfer money." Ryan sent me a message. Madison had posted something. My stomach tightened before I even opened it. Of course, she hadn't posted the whole notice, just the pretty parts. Her caption was about as subtle as a brick through a window. Ryan tried to warn her, but Brianna jumped in first. She claimed I was just jealous Madison was getting good news. Ryan shot back with his usual brand of sarcasm. Then Madison finally chimed in, telling him not to panic because her parents confirmed it. Ryan sent me the proof. They'd called the fake number. I looked up. Caleb was in the hall, phone glued to his ear, looking like a scared kid. I messaged Ryan back. "Tell Madison to call the official number on speaker. If she refuses, just send the proof and stop arguing." Ryan said she'd just call me jealous. Fine, then she can be scammed with confidence. It sounded colder than I felt. The old me would have enjoyed this. This wasn't just about Madison's pride. This was about parents' savings. Revenge is one thing, this was different. So Ryan sent the warning again, this time with proof. Westbridge High did what it does best. It argued with the evidence. Brookfield, on the other hand, moved like a school that didn't want to get sued. The police showed up before self-study. They looked tired. No lecture, just 3 simple, useful instructions. Then one of them asked who started the official number check. Ms. Anderson pointed right at me. I gave a little wave. So much for trying to be low-key. The cop looked at the whole class staring at me, then said, "You're failing." He was right. By the afternoon, the first payoff arrived. The accounts were frozen. Caleb just collapsed into his chair, like his bones had been removed. "My mom was going to pay the second fee tonight," he whispered. No one laughed. Ms. Anderson just said, "Then tonight she doesn't." That quiet certainty was powerful. But on Ryan's side, things were getting worse. He sent a voice message. "Westbridge parents are losing it." Another screenshot followed. A police notice with my name on it. Because of a records error, they'd tagged me with my old school. And the parents only saw the part they cared about. Ryan sent the pictures. Then he sent the best and worst message. They found Morrison. The picture was blurry, but the meaning was crystal clear. He wanted to know why he'd dismissed my warnings. For months, Westbridge wanted everyone to think I was a problem they'd gotten rid of. Now their own parents were asking why that problem had saved another school. I looked at Caleb's safe, at Ms. Anderson collecting records, and at my phone. One fake money trap was closed. The real money problem was just getting started. While Westbridge burned, Mason found me and shoved his phone in my face. "We can't ship this," he said. That was his version of good morning now. I saw the number, and my stomach did a backflip. Success was beautiful. Success also had teeth. "Need more inventory," Mason said, "and packaging, and time to answer messages." I offered to skip self-study. He just gave me a flat look. "No," I said. "Then we build a system." He looked personally offended. The bell rang, and we both walked into class staring at the same ugly truth on my phone. My memory could stop a scam, but it couldn't pack boxes. Ms. Anderson caught us. "Why do you two look like you committed accounting?" Mason went silent. "Cowered so much for my best bud." I stepped up. "Teacher, I need to request controlled library computer access." "For studying?" she asked. I gave her a little smirk. "Studying adjacent." Face sharpened, so I laid it all out. "It's a legal store, proper customer service. And Mason here needs the work, but can't afford to skip class." She brought us to the office and made me show her everything. Her face went through several stages before she just sighed and asked if I was kidding. "Accept that as a nuanced review," I told her. She confirmed Mason was supervised. He grumbled, "I'm right here perfect." "That's why," I said. Then Miss Anderson called in reinforcements. Mr. Thompson from the science department took one look and told me my science grade was too high to be ignored for a store. "I love how everyone supports my dreams," I said. He wasn't done. He told Mason his grades were worse than my inventory planning. Then Miss Anderson laid out the deal. We got library access with conditions. Mason had to do his homework before working. I had to tutor him, and if our grades dropped, it was all over. "You're a final year student," she told him, "not a warehouse ghost." So we got our library time. The cost? I'd accidentally adopted a logistics employee with homework. News travels fast. Before lunch, Chloe and Grace found us in the library. "Cooper," Chloe asked, "are you studying?" He didn't even look up. "No." Grace whispered to Emma that it was a strange side effect of romance. I couldn't resist. "Give yourself some credit, Miss Blake. Your seating chart is destroying delinquency." Mason threw an eraser at me at miss. "Your aim reflects your physics," I said sadly. Just then, Mr. Thompson appeared in the doorway. Mason went right back to his worksheet. The system worked for about 6 hours. Then the inventory quote arrived. I had prepared for ugly. I'd even cleared a space in my head for it. The numbers still made my throat close. The supplier could only hold the stock for 1 day. Failed to ship and the refunds would gut us. Mason's new job would become a case study in failure. I'd already exhausted my clean options. She sat across from me, her quiet presence a stark contrast to the chaos in my head. How much is missing? Enough, Logan. I hated when she did that. Using my name like a punctuation mark. It always worked. She took in the number, her eyes widening, but she didn't flinch. Can the store repay it? She asked. If the orders hold, yes. If I misjudge the timing or a supplier delays, no. If I panic and make stupid promises, definitely no. I'm one motivational speech away from becoming the exact kind of guy I hate. The words landed harder than I meant them to. Sorry, I said, closing the ledger. No, she said softly. Say it. So I did. I hate when people use trust as a ladder. I can't take your money and call it romance. I won't do that. Then Emma reached into her bag. First, a small bank envelope. These are my savings. I started to object, but clamped my mouth shut. It's mine, she said. I can lend it with a record. It's not enough, I know, she replied. And then, she took out a card. Suddenly, the library felt completely silent. Real money doesn't need to sparkle. How high, I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She told me, $300,000. That number wasn't money. It was a cliff. I didn't look away from her. I couldn't. No, I said. The trust she was offering could crush us both. You haven't heard my condition. I don't want it small. That shut me up. She started listing things. Repaying the gate money. Offering Mason work. I'm not lending you money because you smiled at me. I'm lending it because I trust what you do when money is dangerous. That was worse than a confession. This wasn't asking me to feel something. It was asking me to be worthy of it. I laid out the terms. A ledger, a written agreement, every transfer recorded. If your father asks, I don't hide behind you. He'll see the records. The fear was already there. Then we keep proof that you didn't, she said. I called Mason over to witness. No jokes, no posturing. You sure? He asked Emma. She nodded, he signed. The payment went through. The business survived. Nobody cheered. Hope can be loud. Responsibility is usually paperwork. Over the next few days, Mason changed. He started treating his homework and the business with the same seriousness. This is weird, Chloe said, watching him. Growth often is. By the 3rd day, even Mr. Thompson noticed. Less wrong. He looked at me for translation. From him? That's a parade. And then the parade ran me over. Just when I thought things were settling down, a message from Ryan. I stared at the last line. Records misunderstandings. Those same polite words were now walking toward my door. Mom? I picked up immediately. Logan, she kept her voice low. Dean Hayes and Mr. Morrison are downstairs. Westbridge High had finally come to my home. By the time I was in a taxi, Ryan was sending me photos. The parents had turned Mr. Morrison into a hallway exhibit. They asked the right question and got the usual answer, silence. And Ryan sent one more line. Yeah, I had a guess. Reputation surgery had arrived at my apartment. Dean Hayes started with his usual soft words. Interesting, I said. Last time Westbridge clarified something, I lost a school. My dad gave me the look. Don't start a war before you know the battlefield. I sat and sent a message to my insurance policy. Tried to frame the parents' anger as a simple misunderstanding. But my mom cut right through the crap. The room went silent. This wasn't the exhausted woman from my past life. My dad had found the weak spot. And he wasn't letting go. They came to my home to ask for a favor, so I reminded them of their sins. First, how they deleted my praise, then accused me of plagiarism. Dean Hayes tried to cut in, offering a calm solution to make it all go away. They weren't here to command me. They were here to beg me to help them look innocent. Then I remembered my mom, head bowed in this same school's office. The smile died. No, I said, a single word to tear down their entire plan. His eyes narrowed. He wasn't used to being told no. Morrison finally asked the million-dollar question. Then what do you want? Finally, they had finally asked. I pulled out my phone. I laid out my evidence, one screenshot at a time, right there on the table. Public correction, I began, listing my terms like a contract. And Tyler Hayes' role will be addressed properly. Not washed away because he's your son. Careful, he said. The classic threat from a man losing control. I am being careful. That's why I'm using names in my living room, not online. My mother inhaled sharply, but she didn't stop me. She knew this was necessary. And Mr. Morrison apologizes, I added, turning to the teacher who valued tears over facts. He actually laughed. For what exactly? As if he had no idea. Then my dad, quiet until now, spoke. Those demands sound reasonable. Dean Hayes snapped the folder shut. You're asking us to embarrass ourselves. No, I corrected him. Westbridge already did that. I'm just asking for a receipt. He didn't accept, of course. People like him hate accountability. He left with a threat. Then I guess Westbridge should stop giving me material. My mom almost choked, trying not to laugh. After they left, the silence was heavy. Mom looked at my phone. You kept everything. I learned from professionals, I told her. Then she asked a question that hit harder than any threat. Are you tired? Admitted I was. Dad just nodded. Tired people should still eat. So we ate, while Westbridge decided how much truth it could afford to tell. The next morning, Madison was waiting for me. I knew it wasn't an apology. Apologies face facts. Madison only faced angles. She asked if we could talk. You are talking, I said. Her fingers tightened on her bag strap. She rambled about the scam, about how everyone was upset. I offered no sympathy. Then came the invitation to dinner. To fix things and go back to like before. That phrase. It learned nothing from disasters. Madison, I said before, was the problem. Her eyes brightened. Not with tears, not yet. She was just preparing the room for them. Do you hate me that much? She asked. I said no. That surprised her more than anger. Just don't belong to your emergencies anymore. The bus arrived, my perfect escape. Madison whispered she was sorry. Then keep being sorry after people stop watching, I told her, and got on the bus. Behind me, her silence finally told the truth her tears never could. That afternoon, Westbridge posted its statement. It was a masterpiece of saying nothing. No names were mentioned. My record was wrapped in fog so thick it needed a weather warning. I read it once. Then I opened Exit Pass and started writing. The new chapter was about a school painting over a crack while rain poured through the ceiling. Mr. Whitman had me remove one sentence. It was, in his words, too close to truth. The school got it immediately. Westbridge started complaining within the hour. The board noticed, and Ms. Anderson brought the consequences to class after lunch. Board representatives would be there, and so would representatives from Westbridge. Emma was playing the piano. I saw her hand tighten around her pen. I looked at the teacher. What am I doing? Apparently a literature presentation and a magic act. Whole class turned to stare at me. That was a private crime. Of course my revenge would turn into a variety show. Of course, the stage was set. Then Tyler Hayes decided to set it on fire. The rumors started. I was using Emma's money. I'd traded Madison for a richer girl. Ryan sent me the proof. Tyler started it, but Madison perfected it. Stab with someone else's hand, then bring bandages for the crowd. Classic Madison. Looked over at Emma. She was still oblivious. The clean ledger between us suddenly vulnerable. My phone buzzed. Ryan. Bad news. Someone sent it to a parent group. Just then, Emma's phone lit up. She looked at it. Her face went white. My father, she whispered. The trap had found the money trail. The lie was almost impressive. It took two real facts and beat them together with a shovel. The lie tied a neat, dirty bow that made me look like the one thing I'd spent 2 lifetimes hating. Emma's father came the next day. He didn't storm in, that's what made it worse. Miss Anderson found me. Emma's father is here. Emma was beside her, pale but resolved. Closed the store dashboard on the library computer. Mason looked up. Problem? Yes, I said. He was on his feet instantly, ready to back me up. I told him to stay put. Too many boys in a room with a protective father is a bad headline. She led us to a small meeting room. He was already there, standing. No visible anger, no shouting. That's how I knew he was serious. Logan Miller, he said. The name felt like stepping onto thin ice. He told Emma to sit. Then me, I sat. Ms. Anderson stood guard by the door. Then he placed a bank statement on the table. No drama. The paper did the damage. My daughter's card was used for a supplier payment, he said. A large one. Didn't deny it, yes. The school rumor says you persuaded her to fund an online store selling inappropriate products. That one word, inappropriate, just hung in the air, killing any trace of humor. I laid it out straight. The store is legal, I said. The product pages are non-explicit. It's comfort apparel, clean descriptions, and discreet shipping. But I didn't lie about the most important part. Yes, I accepted money from Emma. He watched me, his silence a weapon. Then he asked why. So many wrong answers. Because the market was hot? Because I knew the timing was perfect? All true. All useless. I had to give him the one thing that mattered. Because I was short, I said. Because she offered. Because I thought a ledger made the risk acceptable. Then the final piece. And because I should have asked to speak with you first. Mr. Blake's expression didn't change. Show me, so I opened the folder. Supplier quote, invoice, transfer amount, order dashboard, customer records with details blacked out, wage notes for Mason, a full repayment schedule, everything. I'd made this ledger to survive an angry father. Now it had to do its job. He read every page. Then the questions came. How many orders, refund rate, what supplier? Gave him plain numbers, plain records, no magic, no second life confidence, just the facts. Finally he looked up. You are good with records. I almost slipped. I learned from people who were bad with facts. Whoops. Minimal joke. Then he turned to Emma. Did he pressure you? Her fingers tightened on her bracelet. No. Did he ask for the card? No, I offered. Why? The room went dead silent. This was it. She could have hidden behind me. But she didn't. Because I trusted him, she said. Her voice was soft, but the words were steel. She listed everything. He repaid the gate money when he promised. He wrote every debt down. He helped Mason earn money instead of making fun of him. He warned everyone about Rockwell. She looked at me once, then back at her father. When people laughed at me, she finished. He stood beside me first. That sentence hit the room like a physical force. It made everything heavier. Her father leaned back. Trust does not erase risk, he said. I know, she answered. You should have called me, I know. He looked at me again. You should have refused until I was told. Yes, my pride hated it, but honesty required it. He gathered my papers and pushed them back to me. The terms were set. You will repay the card amount by the date written here. I will. You'll send weekly records to Emma and to me, yes. You will not take another dollar from her without speaking to me first. Agreed. Then one last term, not about business. If the rumor spreads, you will not let my daughter stand alone in it. Looked at Emma, then back at him. I won't. His face was a stone wall. I am not blessing this store. Fine, I didn't expect a ribbon cutting. But then, very reluctantly, he added, you may keep the performance schedule. Emma will play at the showcase. That was his real answer. A deadline, a witness, and a chance. The showcase swallowed the rest of the week. Emma practiced until even the gossips started showing respect. My job? A short magic act. A way to make Westbridge High disappear with misdirection. Mr. Whitman didn't laugh. Don't make anyone disappear, he said. Make them look at the right thing. Better advice than he knew. My act wasn't magic. It was a metaphor with sleeves. Meanwhile, Ryan, my official evidence delivery service, sent over the goods. He even sent a voice note. Please rate 5 stars. I gave him 4 messy packaging. And Chloe for once wasn't putting on a show. She found Emma. I heard people repeating the money thing. I used to repeat things too fast, she admitted. Then I can help stop it. Emma's apology had been imperfect but useful. Then stop it, Chloe said, and she did. Mason had become alarmingly reliable, studying and working. When asked why, he just said paid work. Hope was there, and so was the trap. Tyler was waiting for me. Madison was there too, wearing worry like a scarf, letting other people get their hands dirty. I saw them before they saw me, so did Mason. He stopped beside me. Want me to call Miss Anderson? Not yet. Want me to hit him? Absolutely not. Then Chloe appeared, phone in hand. Are we recording? Only if they start. Tyler saw us and smiled that ugly smile. Miller, busy selling Emma's money? Mason's shoulders went rigid. My hands stayed open at my sides. Tyler, I said calmly. Still borrowing your father's authority? His smile twitched. One of his cronies laughed. He didn't like that. Think you're clever finding a rich girl to fund you? Madison said you always needed a girl to feel important. I glanced at Madison, who was suddenly fascinated by her shoes. Madison says a lot when someone else can be blamed for it. Her head snapped up. Tyler stepped closer. Say that again. So I did, and his hand came up. He wanted me to flinch, to grab him, to give him the messy second he needed. But I saw the camera over his shoulder. Close phone on your left, I said calmly. Mason's on your right. And Ms. Anderson coming down the hall. Because Mason finally learned to text adults. The guard stepped between us. Problem? He was just leaving, I said. He had no clean way out. He came to make me swing, and he left on camera. Madison stayed behind. Her eyes were wet, but the act was getting old. You really hate me, she said. No, I said. I finally stopped auditioning for you. She tried one last jab, but Ryan's voice cut in from Mason's phone on speaker. That's hilarious, Ryan said. I still have the message where you asked him to come save you. She was speechless. You said I'd embarrass you, I reminded her. No, I said you did that. I'm just bringing subtitles. The next afternoon I stood backstage. 3 cards, 1 envelope, and every enemy I needed sitting under the same lights. It was showtime. I got a text from Ryan. If you mess this up, I'm charging overtime. Glanced at the front row. Every person who wanted to see me fail had a VIP pass. The stage lights came up. Showtime. I could feel the old trap. They were all waiting for the old me to screw up. This time was different. My friends had my back, and they came with receipts. I walked to the center of the stage, keeping my hands visible. Good afternoon, I said. I was told to keep this short and educational. Director Marshall smiled once. That was all the permission I needed. I held up the 3 cards. This is a simple trick about attention. Most people think magic is hiding the truth. It's not. It's persuading people to stare at the wrong truth. I moved the cards, making one clumsy mistake. The room shifted. People thought they had caught me. Perfect. I opened the envelope. The fact card was inside. The students clapped. They love free entertainment. That, I said, is misdirection. Someone gives you a visible mistake, a loud rumor, or a crying face. And while you watch that, the fact quietly leaves the table. The applause faded. I looked directly at Mr. Morrison. My former homeroom teacher once taught me a valuable sentence. Setting aside the facts, my attitude was the biggest issue. A ripple went through the crowd. I saw Ryan's head drop. He was definitely laughing. Mr. Morrison's fingers tightened around his program. The line had landed. Exit Pass is about students trying to keep their future when adults tell them which facts are convenient. The final chapter isn't about revenge. It's about attention. What do you watch? Now, before I talk about the school, I need to clear up a rumor about a real person. Emma's head lifted. The humor was over. Emma Blake lent me money for inventory for a legal online store. I accepted. My decision, my responsibility. The public rumor turned her into a joke, a wallet, and a dirty headline. None of those things are true. A page from my ledger went up on the projector, the same one Mr. Blake had seen. Revenue goes to wages, refunds, and repayment before I take any profit. Mr. Blake reviewed these records, and then he stood. I reviewed the records, he said. My daughter was not deceived. The debt is documented. He sat down, short, stern, and deadly to gossip. Emma's shoulders were straighter now. That was a win. That is the fact, I said. Anyone who prefers the rumor should at least admit it. And then Madison stood up, ready to reclaim the spotlight. Logan, she said, voice trembling perfectly. Why are you humiliating people who cared about you? Face card was trying to get back on top. Who cared about me, I asked. I did, she insisted. Before you changed, before you started using everything to punish me, I cut through the act. Madison, on the day Tyler blocked you in class. Did you send me a message asking for help? She froze. I nodded to the projector. The first screenshot appeared. This came from my phone, I said. My mother saw it that day. Mr. Morrison saw it too. Madison whispered I was scared. You were? That part can be true. Then in the office, why did you say I had followed you on my own? I didn't know it would become that serious. The first crack. The room heard the lie. I clicked once. The screen changed. A pattern of her trying to contact me again and again. Even after the rumor about Emma, she sent one last message. Her face went white. And that's when Ryan raised his hand. A picture of perfect chaos. Director Marshall looked at him. You have something relevant? Yes, sir, Ryan said, standing. I sent the screenshot folder. I also received messages from Mr. Morrison asking me to persuade Logan to let the issue go quietly. Mr. Morrison tried to object. Ryan just blinked at him. Teacher, you sent me $60. The auditorium made a sound I can only describe as collective choking. Ryan added, still had the transfer record. For evidence, Miss Anderson looked like she was getting a migraine. I love loyal friends. Director Marshall told him to sit. He looked smaller than he had in my old classroom. Addison's tears were real now. You promised you liked me, she sobbed. The old me would have bled over that. The new me just felt tired. I did, I said. That was my mistake. Your mistake was thinking my feelings were a public resource. No one clapped. Then Tyler exploded. Enough. You're just blaming her because you got rejected. The security guard tensed. Mason shifted. The air crackled. I looked at Tyler. You have tried very hard to make this story about whether I will hit you. Because you want to, he snapped. Probably, I admitted. The honesty hit harder than a denial ever could. But wanting to hit someone and choosing not to are different facts. Played the clip, close angle first, then Mason's angle. Less pretty, more useful. He'd recorded it like a man filming evidence. Tyler's face changed as the clip played. His father, Dean Hayes, jumped to his feet. This is being exaggerated. Director Marshall didn't look at me. He looked at the dean. Tyler Hayes is your son. Then my mother stood. Her voice was steady. Dean Hayes told us Logan could write a self-reflection or leave Westbridge. My dad stood beside her. It was handled as my son's fault. We were there. Dean Hayes tried to dismiss them as emotional parents. Director Marshall's pen tapped. So are Dean's, he said. Dean Hayes sat down, defeated. I clicked again. The final slide wasn't about a person. It was the timeline. Clean, boring, and lethal. They all had their stories. Mr. Morrison, Dean Hayes, the school itself. All face cards. The fact card was much simpler. They wanted my confession when I was a problem, and they wanted my novel when I became useful. Mr. Morrison's voice cracked. I was trying to keep order. Teacher, I said. The word tasting like ash, you made this a theater. You did it the moment you asked a student to apologize after seeing proof of why he acted. Made it theater when the school deleted praise instead of admitting I transferred. And you made it theater when you treated Ryan's warning like a joke. I'm only choosing better lighting. From the audience, Ryan whispered just loud enough for people to hear. Stagecraft. Someone laughed, then choked it back. As Director Marshall looked toward the Westbridge reps. The review team will record this, he stated. Westbridge High will submit a written correction. His gaze didn't waver. It will address Logan Miller's transfer record, the exit pass deletion, and the handling of Tyler Hayes' conflict of interest. Dean Hayes should not participate in any review involving his son or Logan Miller, and Mr. Morrison's senior teacher recommendation should be held. The words landed one by one. Correction, record, deletion, conflict held. The room didn't get fireworks, just official language. And somehow that was so much worse for them. The right words were finally stepping on the right people's feet. Tyler stood up again. You can't do that because of a stupid performance, he yelled, as a security guard moved closer. Director Marshall didn't even raise his voice. Sit down. Tyler looked at his father for backup. But Dean Hayes didn't move a muscle. Tyler sat down, defeated. That was the moment I knew the old script had finally broken. The real fracture came when Tyler looked for protection and found an empty chair wearing his father's face. I should have enjoyed it more. Then my eyes found Emma. She was holding sheet music against her chest, the bracelet on her wrist catching the light. The room had cleared my name, but the rumor had still touched her. Revenge only felt clean from a distance. Up close, it had people standing in it. I stepped away from the projector and spoke to her. Quieter this time. Emma, I said. You don't have to say anything. Thought she would nod and retreat to the piano. She had already done enough. Instead, she walked to the center of the stage. The whole auditorium changed around her. She stood beside me, not behind me. A small detail, but a huge difference. I lent Logan money, she said, her voice shaking only on my name before it steadied. She admitted she was afraid. Of the rumors of her father of being called stupid, no one moved. The space for jokes was gone. But I was not tricked, she said firmly. I chose. She listed everything. How I wrote down every debt, protected her, helped Mason. Her father watched her. His face, a mask I was only just learning to read. Then she turned toward Madison. I am not a replacement. Madison's mouth fell open. She looked back at the room. I am Emma Blake. I play piano. I study at Brookfield High. If anyone wants to laugh at me, at least use my real name. Silence. Then Chloe started clapping. Perfect timing as always. Mason was next, awkward and loud, then Ryan. Soon the Brookfield students, parents, and even teachers joined in. Emma let out a breath. I didn't touch her. This was her moment, not my trophy. She walked to the piano. What was supposed to be a transition became the answer. Her hands found the keys. The first few notes were tight. Then her shoulders settled, and the piece opened up. Soft at first, then clearer, then strong enough that the room forgot to be hungry for scandal. I stood near the curtain and just listened. In my old life I remembered her after I'd already ruined myself. This time I found her before the applause. When the last note faded, she stood, and the applause came again, fuller this time. Director Marshall stood with them. So did Mr. Blake with his 3 precise claps. Emma looked at me from the piano. I smiled back. A smile with no blades in it. It was just for her. The aftermath arrived through forms, stamps, and meetings. Next morning, Westbridge posted the correction. Exit Pass was my original work. Tyler's recommendation was suspended. Dean Hayes was removed from the review group, and Mr. Morrison's application stopped moving. Bureaucracy finally said enjoy the consequences. Ryan sent me a screenshot of the correction. Emperor Logan, your decree arrived. Then came a message from Madison. Are you happy now? I deleted it without answering. I cleared the debt with Emma's father. His reply was exactly what I expected. Received. Continue weekly records. Emma laughed into her sleeve. My father likes records, she said. One evening we walked past the literature board. A photo from her showcase was pinned next to my post. She looked at the photo. I noticed you didn't hold my hand. I told her she was holding her own ground. Then she reached for my hand herself. The first time I ruined my life trying to save the girl who used me as a shield. This time I kept my hands in my pockets and saved the only life that was actually mine.